Warning, the following video has flashing lights and also includes content that may be deemed inappropriate for some viewers. Viewer discretion is advised. Barb Hartman and JJ Messenger. Yes, again, it is time for you and us to team up and figure out what is occurring with the madness known as the Dogman phenomenon. I do appreciate you both coming in here and freeing me from my shackles, and now allowing me to feed. Absolutely delicious. And thank you so much for allowing me to replenish lost power sources. Without further ado, it is time for you, myself, JJ Messenger, and Barb Hartman to take a walk into the madness.
Stood up. I said, oh my god, it's a werewolf. And everybody in the car freaked out.
My creatures of the night. Once again, it is midnight lycanthropy time on LordeStarfox Radio. Barb Hartman, JJ Messenger, setting up the late night fire for us because, again, it's time to burn the timber into the early hours of the morning and read a few chapters from the Midnight Society book about missing people in the Alaska Triangle. Barb, my friend, how the heck are you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. How are you?
So pumped to sit down with y'all again and link up. Buzzing around all day with my head up my butt cheeks. Don't even know how I am here on the time frame I remotely was supposed to be, because as I told both of y'all, ever since I was 11, I'm just late to everything. I accept it. It is not a good quality to anybody out there, all right? But sometimes you just got to embrace the things that occur.
Yep.
JJ, what about you? How you doing, brother?
Oh, I'm doing okay. Doing good.
Excellent. Glad to get you back up in here and try to fill up the good old file cabinet upstairs for you with some great information. A little timeout right here. What we'll always do is same thing. So, Barb, if you talk, throw it over to JJ's way after. Be like, hey, JJ, what do you think of this? And then, JJ, you can toss it back to me. And then we kind of just keep it all in the loop very easy, all right?
Sounds good.
Sweet. Well, to the audience tonight, we, as stated, have a very nefarious and interesting topic to dive into. But first, we do need to hear what JJ and Barb have been up to lately before we chug up to the frigid Northland. Anything new your way, JJ, with cryptids or dogmen?
Oh, things are still slow here. The snow has melted. The warm air is coming in, so I'm getting primed. You know, usually late March, early April is when things start cooking.
This is good. So you'll have a chance here soon to be out rolling around. Miss Hartman, what about you, my friend? I mean, we all know you're always getting some great content with the topic you are pursuing over on your thread. So I do encourage everyone, make sure to pop over to both JJ and Barb's thread. JJ is going to be revving up here soon, like he said, and Barb's already firing away. Have you heard anything recently Dogman related, or you just been dealing with your squad on your property?
I have not. I'm trying to think. I don't believe. Yeah, I don't recall that I've talked. I mean, nothing that's that kind of stands out to me. No one has contacted me specifically to tell me anything about any dogmen. I It's similar with JJ. It gets a little bit more quiet around here at this. Well, it's starting to pick up now, though. We have the herring and the smelt are starting to spawn or whatever they do, like along the shore. So it's really easy for the Sasquatch to just, reach in there and grab a handful of fish, supposedly. I've been getting, I just saw a bunch of, I guess, physical evidence today that I have to take a look at. There's a whole area that in my yard that's like dug um, down. It almost looks like somebody was trying to dig two trenches.
Hmm.
And none of us were doing that. Also, this huge pile of peeled pine, like pine cones. So apparently and you guys might know this. I didn't know this until someone told me. There's a little seed, I guess, in the pine cones. And so if you kind of, peel them apart, supposedly the Sasquatch like to eat the little seeds in there. Well, I found this. I mean, it'd have to be, I don't know, maybe 50 squirrels would have to be to make this pile, because it's really new. It's happened within the last 3 days, and it's a huge pile. So I don't know, typical stuff around here.
I do know squirrels in the good old neighborhood around here and other little creatures that venture around the birds and stuff. Yeah, they definitely like to eat the pine cones as well. I don't know why she chose to go outside and take a chunk of snow and bring it in to chew on it when she has water in here. And snow is not really that much water, actually, which a lot of people don't realize. When you are in a dire situation and you are dehydrated, it takes way too many calories, it takes down the temperature of your body trying to consume the snow because it doesn't have that much water in it, actually. Very interesting little tidbit of information that I have gathered.
I think your little Swift, she just likes to, something like a little frozen treat, and look what I brought in. That's so cute.
Right? But I mean, I'll give her frozen berries if she wants them. It's one of those things. And actually, you're both going to chuckle real quick. I was watching my friend's dog. I always watch them. It's right down the street. She is amazing, has 3 legs. Awesome dog. I love her. I go over and I'll bring her legendary food. And I think it's every dog, okay? I will put down some nice chicken and gravy, but I still need to make sure the little gate to the kitty litter box is closed because I don't know why dogs like poo-poo cookies. It just doesn't make darn sense to me. I mean, it's not like I'm giving her bad food or something. I mean, I don't know what could be worse than a big old piece of cat turd that you're now excited to consume. But I'm giving you chicken and gravy. Why do dogs do that? My friend said his dogs that are small, he'll bring them out, right, walking around, and they'll just roll in a deceased animal's carcass or some sort of, fox urine. He's like, dude, why?
Yes.
Oh, they love the
So
stink.
disgusting.
They love the stink.
Yeah. Yeah.
What the heck? And then you got to put them back in your car or they want to come up and cuddle with you. You're like, yeah, right.
Yeah, right. And usually it seems like when they want to roll in something, they've just had like a nice bath, like, oh, I got to get myself all stinky again.
So bad.
Look at what these humans did to me. Yeah.
Right. I don't want to smell like this.
Where's the dead worm I can roll in?
Right. We had a yellow Labrador retriever that was, oh my gosh, she was the worst with eating poo. I mean, oh brother, she beeline to any sort of poo she could find. And so we talked to the vet about it, just like, I don't know, and because I'm like, this is so disgusting.
Well, yeah, watch my dog just eat poo-poo cookies all the time.
I know,
I keep asking
like
the same question, yes.
Yeah, it's like she's getting really good quality food. Why? And she's making a beeline, to raccoon. There's a lot of wildlife when we lived in Tennessee. Well, there is now when Brandy was with us. And the vet said, well, you could put some pineapple in her food, and then she won't be so inclined to eat her own poo. So it's like, but wait a minute, how bad can pineapple make poo taste? that the dog's not going to eat it. But yeah, she'd still find some other poo. It's so gross. I don't know.
So bizarre. I mean, again, I do understand that the French were the first ones to come up way back in the day with perfume. My mom would always say, what are you, trying to smell like a French woman over here? Because I was me decking myself out with cologne and stuff, right? And then I looked into it and I actually understood the reference she was making.
Oh my gosh, your mom was hilarious.
Yes, before the French were, really about being all, Hollywood style like that before it was a thing. Nobody else, really took it to that extent. They were the first kind of glammed up culture, right? So I do understand human terms of cleanliness vary from culture to culture or just in general. I understand that. So what we think is cleanliness, is that going to be different towards an animal? But again, I just still don't comprehend that. And on a funny note, JJ, I don't know if I sent it to you. I will. I sent it to Barb. I had to get fragrance-free like female hygiene stuff from my squirrel because one of the times when I used to wash her with like this, I thought it smelled good. She wouldn't, it's funny. She swims around the bathtub, but right after, bro, she bolted so she can open the side door if it's not the handle, but if that part is open and it's the little screen door and she jumps up, she can hit the button because it doesn't latch that hard. She bolted outside and went into a big old sand pile and took a sand bath.
Very good.
Oh. Don't make me, don't make me smell like your weird human stuff.
Yeah, like screw you.
Yeah, I'll show you. Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
well, here's another thing that my son also has a mini Aussie. We have a mini Aussie Asher, and my son has one also. Now, my son's mini Aussie loves to, this is gross, but lick the urine when Asher goes.
Yep.
Like, ew, what? But my son found out they're actually they do that to try to cover the tracks for predators. It's some sort of, I'm like, wow, okay.
But you're living in my house, right? It's not like you got a pack of hyenas coming after you.
Right. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah, hurry, cover it up.
So brutal. And
it's all evolution, like when dogs circle 3 times before they lay down. There's certain things that they do that they learned through survival mannerisms.
Yeah.
Yes, actually, now that you just brought that up, I'd never really been aware of that. I also just used to be like, what the heck? Lay down. What are we doing here? Are we playing chairs? So that is a very acute observation. I have something for you and the audience real quick before we head up to Alaska. I just want, again, people to understand when something claims it's based on a true story. Based is a very loose terminology, all right? And when you put certain words in sentences in certain orders, it changes the definition of a sentence. I'm going to show first one case because it ties into what we talk about here. You had the Beast of Bray Road. We all know where that came from. But in 2005, they decided to make a gore fest movie. Before I thrash it, the gore was, decent. Everything else is no truth at all. Yeah, a car broke down. Well, that didn't happen. A car was driving down Bray Road. And then all these people getting unalived and this crazy werewolves busting into people's houses. Well, guess what? It says based on a true story. That is like 5% based on a true story. All right. So, yes, we got to pump the brakes on that. And same thing with the movie. I'm not even sure if I can say the first part because YouTube will hate me. But the drug-induced bear movie that recently came out. Okay. Yes, there is
Yep.
actually a tad bit of truth that did occur. And I'm going to tell everyone the truth real quick. And I'm going to leave it up to everybody else to witness the movie and realize, yeah, sure, it's got some entertainment value. But again, based on a true story, like 5%. There was a person trying to smuggle in some ski slope stuff that he really shouldn't be, okay? He decided to throw it out of the airplane. Well, when he jumped out, unfortunately for him, he didn't make it, okay? Goodbye. This bear, a black bear, yes, actually did get into this bag of snow, we'll call it, right? Everyone should know what I'm referring to. It did a bunch of it. It ate it all, but it didn't go on a unaliving spree. It made it about 50 yards before it exploded on its inside, its heart and such, all right? The rangers and wardens that came across this literally said it looked like the bear was freaking flying because of the distance in between its tracks, because of how amped up it was. But yes, that's it.
Yeah.
It made it about 50 yards and was like boom because of what it shouldn't have been doing. Again, to everyone out there, things are loosely based sometimes on truth, but don't just buy a title of something because it says truth. You got to do the background research first. What do you both think about that, eh?
It's unbelievable, that misinformation and how it can catch on.
Yes.
Oh yeah, being in the paranormal for several years, I participated in a pilot for a TV show, and it was a fairly uneventful night, right? We were hoping for activity, but unfortunately nothing was occurring. At one point, there were stepping stones outside the living room that were rattling on the walkway. And in the pilot, they made a big deal about, oh, what's that noise? What's walking out there? Da, da, da. It turns out it was a cameraman.
Oh my God.
It turns out it was a cameraman, but the producers and the director, hey, we gotta have something to go on here, right?
Yep.
So I've had a taste of how reality TV works. I've had a taste on how the business works. I knew the Warrens, and I knew how Hollywood deals with their cases, and people have to. Yeah, definitely. You have to realize based on could be like 5%. That's all it could be. I mean,
Right.
people have. What kind of exciting movie would it be if you had a movie about a bear who ran 50 yards? And it's
Right.
the same with the paranormal or the
Yeah.
cryptids. See, you gotta have an
Right.
exciting conclusion. You gotta have action at the end. You have to have it wrapped up. And if you don't, it's going to be a lousy movie.
Right. Exactly.
It is very true. Excellent observations by both of you. I just wanted to, again, just shed some light on things. Quick little interesting tidbit as well. I used to act and model a bunch. Well, I got invited to be on the real world, #barf. I also didn't have that time frame to give away. Either way, my agency made me go down to New York to actually talk to these individuals. Yes, well, guess what? It's not reality. Like I told everybody, reality doesn't include a writer, a producer, a editor, a director. Reality is all three of us here talking. But guess what? As soon as I load it up to iMovie, it's no longer reality because I'm chopping out parts. I'm also adding in my intro, etc. Doesn't make it reality now. It's being edited. It can be informational, yes, but reality is me at the moment sitting here with one leg up on my bed, my hand on my hip, looking at the pile of laundry I need to fold and talking to both of you. All right.
Yeah.
That's reality. So when they brought me into the real world, guess what they do? They cause these conflicts. They put in alcohol and stuff to make people act more than they're supposed to. It's all just a farce. The only reality part of it was a cool building down by New York Bay. That's it.
Yeah. Well, but like you said, who would if it was just people sitting around, watching TV, chatting, sitting on their phones, folding laundry, paying bills. That would be boring. Who would
Of
watch
course.
that?
Sure.
I had a cousin that was on a reality dating show. It wasn't The Bachelor. It was one of those clones that was short-lived. I think it was in the 90s and or early 2000s. And yeah, the reality of the Bachelorette choosing who advances on to the next rounds, and no, it was all prearranged. It was all prearranged, and he got voted out the first episode. Yep, yep.
Yes.
It was
That's
all scripted, and he knew it. He knew what to expect.
Yeah.
true story.
Well, and a
Preschool.
job's a job if you want, if you want that type of exposure, but
Hmm. Yep.
certainly,
Yeah.
nobody should take it as reality.
No, that's all I'm saying. It's all got to
Yep.
be taken into perspective. Well,
Right.
I wanted to make a statement and then hear both of your opinions about the Alaska Triangle before we start diving into some really messed up stuff. I do have a encounter from this area that I was able to field quite a long time ago before I actually even really had any sort of platform to speak about it. Just something I had an opportunity to speak to somebody, found it to be intriguing. Yet, well, Alaska is a very interesting place in general. Everyone should take a look at how large of an area this place really truly is. Also, the vast wilderness. There are giant predators. Just the environment can unalive you. Yeah, I'm going to blow everyone's mind here because it blew my mind. As of, I believe, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, when this information was taken from the census, there was 738,000 people in Alaska. Okay. I don't know exactly how that would match up against people in Maine or in Connecticut, etc. I don't dive into that type of stuff. Yet it doesn't seem like that's a mass quantity of people. In the past 20 years, wow, you want to talk about nightmare fuel? Around 60,000 have been reported missing. What the freaking Christmas trees? We're
Wow.
always covering the missing people near cave systems and national forests. Yikes. I
Yeah.
can't even put the number into perspective. Anywhere from 1,100 to 2,400 people a year go missing in the United States. 5% are never found.
Oh,
Okay,
man.
that's per year. That doesn't come close to 60,000 in 20 years, though.
Right. And I guess that's probably all of Alaska, because the Alaska Triangle, I think it's like 20,000
Yes.
have gone missing and never been found. Which, if you hold that up to the Bermuda Triangle, which is like, I don't know, like around 2,000, like that's nothing. Which I did not realize that. Like, whoa.
Right?
I found that out, I think, about a year ago, and it's like, whoa, because you think both of them will, certainly the Bermuda Triangle, wow, but it's nothing compared to the Alaska Triangle, whoa. But that's just wow, all those people.
There was a movie that kind of took off on the theme. It was called The Fourth Kind, and they
Mm.
were blaming that on UFOs and abduction in the movie.
Hmm.
Now, my thinking is very much more mundane. I think the vast majority of these missing people maybe went out for strolls or walks and they were inebriated.
Hmm.
But then the question is, why weren't they found? Would animals and predators like get a hold of them quickly?
I think, yes, they would get a hold of them very quickly, like you said, and also the ton of snow. It's always snowing there. If you go out, you disappear, and then there's a massive snowstorm. How long is it going to take for that
Right.
snow to dissipate? It may never dissipate.
Yeah. And you can fall down in the crevasses, or you could even like alongside of a large tree, you can fall down and to your just get sucked under. It's just it's terribly incredible and
Oh yeah.
horrific what deep snow can do.
You
But
could hurt your leg, twist your ankle.
yep,
You could be in a predicament, and you don't even have to be inebriated. You don't even
right,
have to be drunk. But
right, right.
alcoholism is like a big problem up there too, and
Yeah.
it's an extremely hard life, and people really have to be acclimated to it, rugged. My parents almost were homesteaders up there. We were like
Wow.
1 inch away, 1 inch away. You know the show, I think it's called Alaska, The Final Frontier.
Yes.
Yeah, that family that lives on that property, we were almost their neighbors.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
how long did you live there, JJ?
Oh, we just spent a month there.
Okay.
Yeah, they were seriously considering buying that property up by the oh gosh, I forgot their names, but the family's
Um,
related to Jewel, the singer.
yes, it's the
Yeah,
if you give me the K.
we were
Oh,
almost there.
yeah, we watched the show, my husband and I. Oh gosh. Anyway, wow.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, definitely. So what made you what made them? I mean, other than the
Well,
yeah.
I was only 4. My brothers were 7 and 11,
Okay.
and they decided that the grizzly bear threat was a little too real. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
there were cabins and homes with like spikes on the doors and on the windows, and there was a lot of caution and security about the wildlife up there, and it's a rough area.
Yes. Oof. Yeah, it certainly takes you have to be, person with total awareness and skills to be able to um even to go out like you're saying, like taking a walk, hiking, you have to know what's going on.
Oh
Ugh.
yeah.
Yes, that is some gnarly stuff by both of you and spot on. Also, Barb, what you had just mentioned is a real thing, and I witnessed this firsthand through my TV. Yes, because it's still technically firsthand because it's in my face, even though it would have been cool to be with Cody Lundeen. Maybe not, though, because it looked pretty cold. Either way, him and his sidekick were looking for fresh water, but also to be able to get to a field where they could make a large X in the snow, right? Yet Cody began hearing running water. Wait a second, there's just snow everywhere. Okay, why am I hearing running water? So he starts poking the stick around. Of course, there's these large little crevices where water was running through, but you could A, fall in and get hypothermia almost immediately, or who knows, get sucked off down into the undercurrent underneath all the ice. They were able to do it, but that just shows you right there. If you're not paying attention, you don't have a clue about stuff like that. I wouldn't have had a clue about that. I would have hoped I would have heard the ice and the water and been like, all right, I'm probably not doing this. But if you're twisted or something, or you're not really caring or looking for that, or not even being exposed to that, that's a good way to go bye-bye real quick.
Well, yeah, because the crevasses that with how they'll get heavy snow and it'll cover up completely. You're not going to see the opening, and that could be, I don't even know how far down. 100 feet, maybe more down, and you're not going to come out of that.
Oh yeah, that's scary right there.
Yes.
That's like mountain climbing. That's what mountain climbers have to deal with.
Yes, definitely.
Yes.
I honestly think that's why there's so many people in Washington State. Oh no, the whole Pacific Northwest is because of these very things. There was the 2 guys, unfortunately, that were out looking for Bigfoot and became unalived. And it was sad because they couldn't get to I guess they had gear, but they couldn't get to the gear, or couldn't find their way back, and ended up, and it's just scary. And to think, because it wasn't even that cold, but it gets cold, it's colder up in those the elevations. So.
Oh yeah, we had that problem here in New England with the Green Mountains and the White Mountains.
Yes.
Now, where Mount Washington is in New Hampshire, White Mountain Range. It's
Yep.
terrible. Terrible.
Yes. And there's not the I never realized this. There's not really the manpower to I don't know why, but they have to call in specialists, and a lot of these people are volunteers. Again, I don't understand why, to do search and rescue, like with canines and whatnot. And I would think that, I don't know, I'm thinking those type of areas would have, you have to have a team of this. But there's not money for it. So I don't know. Just be really careful if you're going to go out and, even a little hike in any of these areas.
Yeah, super creepy stuff again by both of you. Before I read this really effed up encounter, I just wanted to see if both of you have heard anything personally about people you know or encounters that could fall into Sasquatch or specifically Dogman in this scenario. And also, personally, this is just my thought process. Yes, everyone should see the disclaimer that pops up saying just because everyone here is my friend or part of my science team does not mean they all have to subscribe to everything I say. Okay, so let's make sure we always get that out there, which is why I had to make that disclaimer, which is pretty sad this day and age. Yet, all right, everyone should know that either way. I don't know if I directly subscribe to the fact of aliens coming down and wanting to probe people, stick things up their rear ends, etc. I do believe UFOs are real. I do believe in extraterrestrials. There's no way in a universe we're the only bozos that are considered to be the best. I'm just saying I don't see the purpose of anything. We've destroyed Earth pretty much. You don't have many nutrients left, right? Okay. We just destroy and pillage each other all the time. What exactly are they going to get from coming down here, except maybe looking at us as like an episode of Aqua Teen Hunger Force,
Yeah, good question. I mean, I don't know.
Well,
But I feel like,
you should have a stand-up routine, Ken. That's good.
yeah.
That's good material right there.
Alien comedy. No, alien. But the thing is, like, aliens. All right, if you go that route, aliens usually they return their abductees. They don't, because we have so many people that claim, and I do believe it happens. But that cannot account for all of these missing people, because again, they usually they return so many that they abduct. So what's that about that? And I don't understand that much about aliens, and that is a
interesting topic. Sure, right?
I have a suspicion about many abductions that they are actually occurring in a psychological, mental level.
Very interesting.
That it's like experiencing an alternate reality in your mind.
Yeah, I agree.
Great stuff, JJ, and by both of you. I can buy into that way more than potentially. Like I was just saying, again, I'm not saying I don't believe in UFOs. I do. I just don't see a purpose of taking half of a cow's face from the middle of a farmer's field or something. What the heck is a cow's cheeks? I mean, I guess people like beef cheeks sometimes down here as a delicacy or food source, but you're really going to come from a whole entire another universe to get some beef cheeks. That's just a bizarre one.
Yeah, or get some cow blood or some goat blood. Drain the blood. I don't.
Couldn't you just bring the whole thing back with you?
Yeah, right. Yeah, you would think.
I'm just trying to be logical. I know it sounds humorous, but honestly, like, these are logical questions, meaning it just doesn't make sense if something was so advanced technologically. That's just a very bizarre way to waste your time. That's all.
Yep, I agree.
But that makes good sci-fi writing right there. You can have them making all the hybrids in their laboratory, cow man and goat man.
Oh gosh, yeah.
And then setting them loose, right? I mean, I could make that film. I could write that book.
If you were going to do that, though, you need more than the cheeks, right? Wouldn't you take the whole damn cow?
You know, when they do DNA tests for the generational DNA, you just swab your cheek. That's all.
Yeah, I know, right? It's so bizarre. So before I read this, do you have both of you, like I said, heard of anything directly from this area that you want to talk about before I kind of tie it up with us for this one?
No, I don't have anything specific. I mean, we hear about a lot. Yeah, I've heard about a lot of things, but no, just take it away. I don't have anything specifically and nothing personal. I've not have any, anybody personally that I've spoken to.
I don't have any direct experiencers, but I do expose myself to a lot of these stories. Um, of course, you have to take them with a certain level of skepticism. I always do have that thought in mind that they are experiencing something real, but it may not be a physical reality. It may be an actual psychic link or some type of altered state of consciousness. Um, Now, when it comes to UFOs in general, obviously there's a physical reality going on. And I think we have enough video and photo evidence of that. It it's all open ended at this point.
Again, beautiful stuff by both of you. It is all so intriguing. Yet this encounter that I'm going to read to both of you as we are heading around third base here. Still got some chunk left, but can't be holding on to Barb and JJ forever. They both need to attend to other things that are involving their attention. And I do know JJ wants to go to bed because he likes to sleep. He told me this. All right, let me open up the good old Chromebook here real quick so that way, because it's going to lag for a second.
Yeah, I wish I had that, like, I want to sleep gene, and my body does not want to sleep. I'm like, come on, let's sleep. It's like, no, we're not sleeping.
Yeah, I feel that. It only happens to me when I'm totally toast, like my brain power. When I know I can't even reach my cell phone that's beside me, it's game over.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. We got winter 1987, Rangel St. Ellis National Park. A man is driving down a very isolated road in a densely forested area when he sees a car pulled over on the side of the road with its blinkers and hazard lights on. Also, the driver's side door is wide open. Confused, as if maybe this motorist needs some sort of assistance. It is the middle of the night. What is happening? And this man pulls over to see where the owner or owners of the car may be and what type of assistance he could potentially give them. As he approaches the vehicle, he sees there is no one inside, but the door handle to the car has been completely ripped off. There were bloody handprints and smudges all over the side of the car and also the hood. Besides the door looking that it had been ripped open, there seemed to be no further signs of damage to the car. As the man cautiously searches for some sort of survivor, he starts to follow a path of blood that leads off into the forest. Little did he know, 4 people had just reportedly seen what they described as a werewolf-like being in the area. As he got closer to the tree line, he begins to hear loud growling and sees what his eyes and brain tell him is a huge, hairy, wolf-like creature the size of a dang bear, glaring back at him from the shadows. Turning around and hammering his butt back to his car, he gets in and speeds away to the local deputies to inform them as to what he had just experienced. Unfortunately for the driver or drivers of the abandoned car, they were never found, and the man is now confused as to what occurred.
Wow. Poor guy. That sucks. That would really, ugh. So did they ever find out who the missing people were, based on the tags or anything like that?
This gentleman I spoke to at the point in time, I did talk to him. Keep in mind, this was a while ago. He
Yeah,
doesn't
yeah, because this,
have a clue who they were. He doesn't recognize, doesn't seemingly think they were locals potentially. But this also is an area that tourists can go through, or just in general. I mean, he was driving through it, but it's
yeah,
also a pretty remote area, meaning you're not just gonna necessarily be cruising through there always consistently. Like I said, you might have a few, but the other times, seemingly, it's going to be a road where residents might be kind of churning
yeah.
through. Very bizarre stuff. And he wasn't told, or he told me he wasn't told anything else besides that. I don't know. His case also, ironically, was on the Alaska Triangle. He touches base on it a little bit. Same thing, though, in there no more information is disclosed than what I received. So I do not know if he honestly has no clue and was never informed. Yet again, assumptions aren't good. Would assume the law enforcement would be able to track down the license plate and such as to where it came from. I don't know if you and I would have the capability necessarily just to do that. I don't know if you type in someone's license plate in Google if their car and information
Yeah,
comes up.
no, yeah, I think there's service, there's websites that you could pay for the information and get it, but we're talking about back in the, what did you say in the did you say the 80s? What did you say? Yeah, I mean, I don't, that would be like, putting something in the mail and, snail mail
Right.
and yeah. So, and also, law enforcement is not going to follow up. I mean, they have a lot, more things to do than to be like, hey, dude, that, found this car. We just want to let
Yes.
you know, even though, nothing has happened to you. You're not a victim. You really just found it. No, they're not going to do that. They're not going to do that.
Not at all. JJ,
I would,
yeah, what do you think on that before I make some
yeah,
more?
I would wonder about the prints on the car. Were they like canine prints or more primate looking?
Oh, yeah.
Human. Uh, what type of prints were these blood prints that were left on the car? Were they the victim's hands? Were they the perpetrator, if there is one? And the door being ripped open?
Yeah.
Yeah, that would take a grip, you know. That would take something that could grip.
Really bizarre stuff and great observations by both you. I have a few little things that I'd like to add on to it and then hear your thoughts as we are starting to come to home plate here. Okay. Could a bear rip off your door handle and door? Yes. I've seen it before where people were feeding this grizzly bear. It was sitting down. It was ticked off that they rolled the window up. It somehow got its claws into the door frame and legit just pulled the side of the
Yes.
door off of this car. Okay.
Yep.
Could it happen? Of course. Was this person or persons driving down the road? Did they swerve a little bit and almost hit something and then get out to see what they hit? Was this bear in the middle of the road? They slow down, pull over, hoping that it goes and runs off into the woods, yet it goes to the side of the car. Did they get out of the car? Because in certain instances, which I will cover some other time in Alaska with you, another gentleman came across what seemed to be a large caribou that had been strategically placed in the road. And when he got out, he ended up claiming he saw some sort of dog-like creature crouched down in the nearby brush, watching him as if it was trying to set a trap. Is this something that happened in this situation as well? Yet, what I think occurred is they got out. It seems like it was one person. Most likely, this person got out of the driver's side, okay, and probably had some sort of encounter with something, whether it's a known predator, a dogman, etc. Got free enough to try to struggle back to their car. The blood prints and things are probably them frantically trying to get into the car. Most likely they probably got back in, and then this thing just yanked off the side of the car and then pulled them off into the forest. That's just my thoughts.
Oh wow. Yeah.
Yeah. Talk about
Yeah.
nightmare fuel. Woo.
Yeah.
Oh.
I do have a black bear that opens my car door, and he does it in a very courteous and gentle way to steal my
That's Good.
steal my chip bags. He leaves a big black bear print on my driver's seat, so I know it's not Sasquatch. It's a black bear.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Now, this being the 1980s, I'm wondering about the door latch. Back in the 70s, most of the door latches had that button that you would push
Yes.
in with your thumb.
Right. Yeah.
In the 80s, I think it started to transition to what we have now with the big latching type.
Yeah.
I would wonder. Yep.
But it could be. I mean, I'm not in person. I've not seen a bear do this, but on, on a video, I've seen a bear. They just grab the door and get their claws, into that door frame and just pull, and they can pull it right off. So,
Oh yeah.
it's if it's
Especially a grizzly bear up in
yeah,
Alaska, it'd be no problem. Yep.
yeah.
Or even a polar bear as well. I don't
Well,
know if polar bears are directly in the area. They are in Alaska. It's an issue too. Polar bears are not fearless. I encourage people to watch some of the interactions with them. There are people that are in little scientific bases where these polar bears are smashing the side of the ladder trying to get up. There is a nuclear sub that is like 60 feet long that busts up through the ice, and these two polar bears are like, what? Okay, I'm going to try to get into this because there's probably something out of here like tuna or something.
Mm-hmm.
And they're literally like gnawing on the top where you would come out. And it's wait a second. This is a 60-foot nuclear metal sub. Most other animals would be like, what the heck is this? I'm out of here. These polar bears are like, nah, dude, there's something good in here.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, and nowadays, I'm not sure about the 80s, but nowadays there's even a crossbreed between polar and grizzly.
Yes. And is that called is it like a spirit bear, do they call it, or something like that? And it because it has that like almost like a translucent hair like the polar bear does, but it does have the like a brown like kind of tint to it.
Yeah, and they're extremely large. Huge.
Yeah. Ooh.
So
Yeah.
creepy.
Yeah. Wow. I want to ask, so, about the thing that you said was like in the bushes, like growling, or in the growling at him. Like what was that then? Because that doesn't sound like bear behavior, right?
No. That reminds me kind of why I alluded to that other case where the guy had the caribou in the road and it was growling at him. Seemingly, this thing didn't pull people too far or pull that person too far away, was probably eating them right around that area.
Yeah.
Which most predators don't. I mean, even leopards will pull it up a tree, but they don't really just run like 30 yards with this. Okay, they pull it enough away where they can consume it. But same thing with a bear or anything else. A bear is probably just going to start eating it right there, especially if it's a remote area like that.
Yeah.
And then when a car comes, it's probably going to be like, okay, fine, I'll get my, remains at it here. Mm-hmm. Yet wolves are probably going to pull it away because they're going to go savage. You're going to have 20 or 30 of them just ripping it apart everywhere. So that's not really going to sit intact for very long. Unfortunately, I've seen videos where I don't hunt, so I don't really subscribe to this. All right, I feel bad for the dogs and I feel bad for the wolves. But either way, this guy released his hunting dogs to track down some wolves. Well, Mr. Bozo didn't get there in time. His two hunting dogs, there was nothing left of them except for the collar and then their heads. Everything else was a skeleton. They would have probably finished the rest of that if he hadn't started shooting his gun and coming towards them. Yet, same thing though, they didn't really drag them away. They ambushed them there. I don't know what would really have done that. I guess a bear could be sitting there pissed off and growling at you and such to protect its food or cache, but then also, like that other gentleman had said, when he got out and the caribou's on the road, he hears something growling at them. I'm not really too sure, and as we are starting to tie this up, what do you both think about this? What do you think's involved in this necessarily encounter, and what do you personally both think is the culprit mainly behind all these missing people inside of Alaska and the Triangle?
I think that, okay, in this situation, I don't know. I have no idea, because I feel like if this was an animal that would have tried to get at this human in this car, and it gets it, it's going to consume it. And I feel like there would be a large amount of blood there, not just, smears, right, on the car. There's going to be a massive amount of blood. And then why would this thing also be hiding in hiding, like growling? I feel like it would be like, oh, yay, here's another meal. I'm going to have another meal. And then that would have been the last of that poor guy. So I don't know, as far as, I couldn't even tell you. You don't even make a guess, like an educated guess. I feel that now with the missing people, I think that it mostly would be due to environmental hazards, that we were talking about. And that's, if you're going to ask me the majority, that's what I think. So JJ, what do you think?
With the growling that the man heard, I wouldn't think that would be a bear. Bears generally just groan at you. You know that bear groan?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Growling is more of a canine behavior, or perhaps a cryptid, one or the other.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you want to be elaborate with your scenario, now why was this guy the victim? Why was he out of his car? Why did he stop his car?
Right.
Did he hit something? Did he hit something, and was he actually concerned about hitting something? Now, generally, if you hit an animal, you're not going to like stop and be concerned for it. You're going to be concerned that the injured animal is going to come at you.
Right.
But if it's something up on two legs, you may be concerned because you're thinking, oh my God, did I hit a person?
Right.
So if you want to go down the cryptid road, there could be a rationale for thinking that he might hit perhaps a Sasquatch or a Dogman,
Mm-hmm.
and they did not take too kindly to it. But that would be the fringe alternative. That would be the fringe explanation.
Mm-hmm.
I would think they were mostly environmental, but then I hear a lot of stories about some bad attitude animals and cryptids, both.
Yes.
And I know with grizzly bears, they generally don't attack people unless they're sick or they're old. If they're sick and they're old and they're feeling the effects of hunger, they will eat people. Poor Timothy Treadwell, the grizzly man in that documentary.
Oh, yeah.
He met his end with a particularly bad attitude grizzly, and here he had befriended like a whole dozen bears.
Right. Oh, so sad. Yeah.
But and then even there's a series called Alaskan Bigfoot. Now, I personally haven't even watched this. I haven't even seen the series, but just the mere title, oh, Bigfoot's a up there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I have to check it out someday.
I watched that, and it was, it was pretty good. But again,
I dig it. Yeah.
Yeah. It was brought a lot of the indigenous lore into it, and their stories, and so that was pretty good. And that was the one where I think they brought Ron Moorhead in, right? Was he on
Oh
that
wow,
one?
did they?
Yeah,
now I really have to watch
I
it.
think so. I think that was the one. And he was saying, and they were saying,
he was in there.
Okay, yeah. And they were saying, well, here's what we're trying to do to try to kind of draw this thing out. And he's like, the last thing you want to do is play, the Sierra sounds, or whoop at them, or knock on trees, or clack rocks. You don't want to do any of that, because you have no idea, especially if you're talking about this creature that's potentially this violent and aggressive and dangerous, that it would supposedly rip things apart.
Oh yeah, that could be risky. We have no idea in this Sasquatch culture what these sounds even indicate or mean.
Right.
So you could be instigating a transaction that you really don't want to instigate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. I really firmly believe that when they're making the wood knocking, and I say this before, it's they're making it with their mouth, just because of what I've heard, on my audio all the time. It literally sounds like they're have 2 blocks of wood that they're clacking together, but there's nothing available for them to do that, and it's so frequent. But and so if that's a pattern of speech, or they're trying to alert, and so what is that going to do if you're knocking on any of that? What does that mean? We don't know what that means to them, and that was Ron Moorhead's point. You don't know what that means, and don't be doing dangerous things like that. So
I heard that gorillas can even make knocking sounds with their mouths and their chests.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes, I've heard that too. So what do you think, Kenny? What are your thoughts on first of all, the guy with the car?
Well, great stuff again by both of you. It's one of those mysteries that I think is going to be potentially pretty hard to solve. And I don't really, I guess, have much more of a thought on it than pretty much what I elaborated to both of you of potentially what could have occurred. And I do think there could also be a person that could have been involved, but then why with the growling after? It's really bizarre for sure. Yeah, the bottom line is, I mean, people are missing, and a ton of people are missing up there. Yet again, I've met some pretty lost humans that make some pretty bizarre decisions. So I could see that obviously coming into play. Like Cody Lundeen, one of my favorite survivalists, says, everyone always thinks they can achieve something, yet you need to always be prepared for the worst, but hope for the best. Meaning when they go out into survival situations, you plan for anarchy, meaning what everything could go wrong. And then who knows, maybe you have a nice, beautiful weekend where when you were lost, it was 65 degrees out, all right? Or maybe you get lost in 12 inches of snow where it's negative 20 degrees. You see what I'm saying? It's one of those things. So it's extremely interesting. Yet, is there anything else you beautiful minds would like to bring up for the evening about the topic we spoke about, or in general?
I have a quick story to tell you guys, and I don't think I've told this to either of you. The weekend that I first heard the Sasquatch calls, and I was in southern Washington State, around we were between Mount Rainier and Mount St. Helens, and we had moved our camp from the first night where I heard them, and then was so wet the next day. We're like, we got to get out of here. Everything's saturated. And I hadn't told them even about the calls that I'd heard the night before. So I wasn't really too interested in hanging around and hearing that again. Anyway, so we move and we moved a little bit closer to Mount Rainier. We're still doing the camping, the primitive camping. We have our tent set up, and all of a sudden we hear this, like, it's literally like a bear. We said that bear does that, like, that growl, not growl, like almost like
it's a groan. Yeah, it's a bear groan.
Yeah. So yes, exactly. Yeah. So we hear that, and my husband and my son were like, okay, like they grabbed their weapons and they're like, okay, but it's probably, it's probably just a black bear. There's some of them are, like, just calm down. But it was weird because we were hearing this noise, and it was coming from like one side, and then it would come from another side, almost like it was 2 of them, and they were both getting closer to us. I was like, we're getting out of here. Like, I don't want to be around if these 2 bears come into our camp. I mean, sure, maybe we can chase them away. We had bear spray and everything, but I didn't really want to nor did my daughter-in-law. We're not really too keen on hanging around for that. And it got to the point where it started to scare us all. Even my husband and my son I couldn't believe this. He's terrified because these sounds were getting so close to us that we hopped in. We had 2 vehicles. We hopped in the one vehicle, literally like left all of our stuff there and drove home. So the guys the next morning went back and got all of our stuffs there. There had been nothing. We had like some food in coolers. Nothing had been disturbed at all. So the guys were like, wow, we shouldn't have done that. We should have just hung around. But I'm like, I don't think we should have stayed. Have either of you ever heard of, that kind of behavior with bears? It was so weird.
Normally, no. I mean, that they generally aren't like staying their distance and making noises at you.
Yeah.
Now, I
Yeah.
was in the woods just last year when the mother bear with cubs was actually coming at me,
Oh.
approaching me, and clacking her teeth. Clack, clack,
Mm.
clack. I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, damn. She
Mhm.
she feels this is her turf, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
she feels like I'm violating her area.
Mhm.
So, I know not to run. I know
Yeah.
not to run. So what you
Mhm.
do is you quietly turn around and take a good pace away from her, you know,
Mhm.
and
Yes.
you keep her like the bear in the corner of your eye. But bears generally aren't shy. Now, do you have grizzly bears up by Mount Rainier?
Well, we supposedly don't, but then people have said that they have definitely been reported, and they're not going to have a boundary like, oh no, you're not allowed to cross this boundary. So I definitely think that I'm not saying that that's what that was, but or that's what they were, but I again, I didn't want to stand around and figure out or stay around and figure out what they were, why they
Oh,
were.
you were smart. You were smart. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, because the guys were like, "Oh, we shouldn't have done that. You girls talked us into it." We're like, "No, we didn't. You guys are." Maybe not my husband. My son was just as scared as the girls.
It's very
But
odd behavior for a
yes,
bear. Now,
yeah,
what the bear had rabies? What the bear
yeah,
was sick.
yeah.
That could have been a situation.
And the fact that there were not one, but 2 of them, and it was like they were on like both sides of us, not very, but close enough. We didn't catch not a glimpse of them. But yeah, I don't. I thought, yeah, thank you, because I also thought it was odd behavior,
Oh
and
yeah, strange.
yeah,
Wow. Again, such great stuff by 2 of my excellent hosts. I love all my hosts, which is why y'all are part of the Midnight Society. That is some excellent stuff to come around to home base here. And what about you, JJ? Do you have anything else you'd like to touch base on real quick before we get boogieing?
Yeah, I think I want to briefly mention how Les Stroud, Survivor Man, he had his encounter up in Alaska with the what you call primate grunts coming at him, and a lot of turmoil in the bush. So I find him to be a very credible guy. I don't know if you watch Survivor Man Bigfoot, but he's generally a very credible investigator. He's fairly skeptical. He's always looking to debunk his own stuff. So yeah, a believable character.
Yes, beautiful stuff. I
yeah,
have
I
checked
agree.
it out.
I think he seems very credible, because it's certainly not something that he didn't start his career, on that, nor has he, focused on just being Bigfoot survivor man. But yeah.
Is that not the truth? Again, let's go. Well, to the audience, we do need to allow Miss Hartman and JJ to get back to things they need to attend to. Also, yes, I do have another podcast I will be rolling on to right after this. Seemingly, we are all quite busy, which is great though, because without amazing hosts and brain power, there is no content. If you are interested in what JJ and Barb are going to be up to or have been up to in the past, just go over to the good old links in the description. or scroll down to the Midnight Society. You can see the suggested pages of my squad. A final option is you can listen to our previous episodes in the good old playlist and be on the watch for the new ones, because Barb and JJ are both bi-weekly hosts. And who knows, maybe we'll get JJ back in here with Barb, myself, and Sonia next time. Until then, this will be the conclusion of the meeting for the Midnight Society in the early hours of the morning. JJ, thanks for hanging out with us tonight, and the same to you, Barb.
Thank you.
My pleasure. Thanks for having us.
Ooh, my legendary creatures, I do adore every single one of you. And thank you for hanging out with us tonight. If you do enjoy my content, please like, comment, subscribe, share it, and feed it to the algorithm. We will catch you very soon.